Hello and welcome to Low Budget Gaming and welcome to another first Descendant video. So I wanted to talk about the mutant cells, discuss which of the Descendants will benefit with these mutant cells as of right now, because it's not really that useful in terms of adding a lot more power. It's only a tiny bit of an increase, and in some cases you can take that extra damage without losing anything from your arcade tree, and in other cases you'll lose a lot. So I just wanted to discuss that, and once I get more boxes, I'll maybe build out a few of these descendants. But I've been getting a few comments and requests for certain descendants, and I wanted to explain why I would skip some of them for now based on how I like to play. I'll also give you options on how you can adjust without sacrificing anything important, because I did quite a few runs yesterday and today, and I got two boxes. I look at these boxes and I don't want to open them. I want to go in a corner and go my precious before doing something with them. So I'll wait until I have a few more to spare so that I can play around a little bit. I'll need more of these as well. I've only got 100, so I can only activate one of the mutant cells. I tried on Blair and I extracted two. It did not work out nicely for us with the Blair thing. So yeah, let's talk about a few descendants and why they can't really benefit too much at the moment, and some of them who can. So let's start first with Blair, because I've used two of the Dinn ones on Blair. And basically what you have is, with Blair, you are, this is the setup I'm using for Killer Recipe, all the mods against the Ice Maiden. Now, in order to get up to here, you have to sacrifice something and get them. Maybe you can drop three of these duration, that can work out, but what else can you drop? So if we look over here, this is what you will end up with, something like this. Let's say you drop all your crit damage mods, you lose a lot of damage. Like even one of the crit damage ones, like this blue one, 7%, this will be a bigger loss than what you'll get from here. So I've tested with two of these burn vulnerability and cohesion, not cohesion, arcade reload. And basically my conclusion was I'm doing more damage with this than with the ones, because the effects are like kill enemies and you'll get a little more power, or you'll get 3 stacks of firepower or something like that. So we don't really need too much more power, and we are losing a lot of crit damage if we drop one of these. Even one of these is too much. So at this point, for crit based descendants, I'm not, it's a general thing, it's not necessary, because some of the crit based descendants don't lose these crit. So let's say, for example, we go with Ines. For Blair, at least personally, I don't think it's worth it. For Ines is also a crit based descendant. I have set it up nicely, 90% cooldown, 100% crit rate. I'm very happy with this setup for me. I don't want to mess around with this. How much crit damage do I have? 5.175. Now, if I go into the arcade tuning, this is how it looks. I've taken the crit damage nodes. Because I have 100% crit rate, I'm not taking these, and I'm taking most of the big skill power stuff. Scale cost is not an issue, so I went this way because we have to go this way to get to the middle section. And I'm generally very satisfied with how Ines works right now. The cooldown on my fourth is 9 seconds. Okay, on the first one is 1 second, 2 seconds here, and 1.5. So really, really low cooldowns. You can spam your abilities, and the 9 seconds is also not that much. 4.5 seconds per stack. You have 2 stacks of the fourth, so you can just use them a little less and you'll be fine. I don't like to spam the fourth anyway, so this is very comfortable for me. Now with Ines, if you want to get up to here, okay. Now previously these four obviously were not there. I was using some HP and stuff like that. So you can go here, one more node, and we can get up to here. Now if you sacrifice this, this will be a bigger loss than what you'll gain from here. So the only viable option is something like this. So you can drop the cooldown and keep the 3 crit damage. So you lose a little bit of cooldown. You'll go down from 90 to 85, which is not a big reduction in the big scheme of things. So 9 goes to 12.9, 3.9 second increase. This one went from 1.5 to 2.1. This went from 2 seconds, I think it was, to 2.9, and this was 1 second to 1.4. So it'll still be fine if you're not spamming the fourth. You'll only feel a loss in the fourth one. So if you are someone who doesn't spam the fourth quite a lot, this will work out for you. You'll get a little more benefit. And she's using the Vermintide slot, which will give you 3 stacks of electric power. Or so you have this one here, which gives you resistance. We don't need that. This one, when defeating an enemy, will give you 3 stacks of electric power, 6.4 per stack. And because she's spamming and there's so many enemies, you pretty much have this up all the time, even though it has a 50% trigger rate. So in a lot of enemies, you'll be getting this. With skill power, when the enemies are inflicted with the dark current, you'll get the skill power. And this one gives you duration. She doesn't use either of these archetypes. And this one gives you defense. So these are the 2 viable ones. You can use either one, which you prefer. And yeah, you lose a little bit of cooldown, which you can sort of compensate a little bit with RK circulation tactic. And so this would be something I would recommend. Maybe I'll make a video once I have a few more boxes, then I'll try and add a few of the builds for the Descendants I think can work out. But yeah, just wanted to give you a preview here. If you wanted to build for Ines, you can do something like this. Okay, so Ines done. I talked about Blair. Viessa, I've been getting a couple of comments for Mutant Cell on Viessa. Same situation. We can get up to here. I was using the skill cost, but I decided to switch them up here. Again, we are missing one. So we can go with the same setup here. To keep the crit damage. The issue is with my build for Viessa, which I am very satisfied with. I use her for the Void Erosion Punch 30, skill based only. I have a 6-second cooldown on the fourth and a 6-second duration, so it has 100% uptime. With this one, when you're dropping the cooldown, you will end up with 8.6 cooldown and 6-second duration. So only 2.5 seconds. If that works out for you, you can try this. Now, if you play solo, that 6-second is a big deal, in my opinion. If you play in a group, this will be perfectly fine. And if you also like to use guns, this will also work out for you. If you have a nice, I don't know, Malevolent or something, you can use this and you'll get some benefit. So again, it depends on your playstyle, but I would sacrifice a little bit of cooldown over sacrificing a lot of crit damage. Okay, so this is Viessa. Again, maybe I'll make one for Viessa again. If I get plenty of boxes, I'll maybe put these and test it out and show you the damages in the lab and things like that, and in the missions. So besides this, you have these crit-based people. Now, the ones that benefit from this, I showed you Freyna yesterday. Freyna is the biggest beneficiary with this Mutant Cells because Freyna is a non-crit. So previously I was using something like this. I dropped these duration nodes and a couple of MP nodes, blue ones, and I got up to here nicely. I took Toxic Cohesion. I tested this in Void Erosion Purge, and I got almost a 2-minute improvement in my time because the smaller enemies were getting deleted very quickly. There are lots of enemies, so your Toxic Cohesion stacks are up. And when the the weak enemies die and the elites are standing, you are using a little more power. So you throw your Q or your third, and you delete the enemies, pull out your fourth, and empty it in the head of the elite enemies. And so this was working out nicely for me in the Void Erosion Purge. The loss of duration is not a big deal because with this setup, I've already made a separate video for Freyna, so I'm not going into too much detail. But basically here with the normal previous RK tuning, I was getting 13.9. And with this one, I'm getting 13.6. So only 0.3 difference. This is enough to empty the full magazine of the fourth ability. Okay. So this is fine for Freyna. The other Toxic Descendant also is going to benefit. Keelan is even better for this because Keelan is non-crit and Keelan also doesn't use MP. Okay, so as a result, we can get here comfortably. In fact, we have a few spare nodes here. So again, you can use the same Toxic Cohesion because he's using the Xanatic, and you'll get a little more stack of Toxic Power. So yeah, Keelan would be another one I would build out. And then what we have is just a few other people, like the main people I wanted to cover. Luna can benefit. Luna is an interesting one, actually. With Luna, she also uses crit, but because of her abilities and our timing, if you can time her abilities, you don't have a cooldown. So we are not using the cooldown anyway. We can get up to here comfortably. And what you can do here is you can add Um, hang on, what is he using? Rutan in the corner? Malachite. Okay, Malachite is. Okay, so there's an interesting one I thought would work very nicely for Tuna. This one here. This one, when you use singular tuning, because second, third, and fourth abilities are singular, when you use the singular, you get a range increase for 10 seconds. And again, it doesn't have cooldown, so you'll have that. And with Luna, you're already tapping all the time. So what you can do is, if you look at the build that I'm using, you can drop the amplification control because we're overcapped on range anyway. With our build here, you can see damage range is 250% max. 17.6, 250 would be 15. So we're already overcapped. We can drop this and we can add something else here, like, I don't know, veteran tactics or something else that does damage. So we have plenty of options. If we drop this, we'll get the range back from the arcade tuning. So this is again something to consider. Even though she has crit, we can get up to here quite comfortably because we are saving on the cooldown. So Luna is another interesting one. And then we have Serena. Serena, at the moment, does she really need more power? And I'm using this setup for Serena, gun plus skill. So if you are using a purely skill stuff, you could go up here, same as the Blair mods for stacks of firepower or base skill power. But again, does she really need more power? I don't see much benefit in messing up this build. I'm happy with this hybrid setup that I use with Divine Surge. So fly up in the air, you get almost 100% multi-hit on your Ancient Knight. You get the buffs from the Ancient Knight unique ability. You get the buffs from Serena for being in the air. You use the inversion perk in the air, aerial maneuver ability, I think it's called. So plenty of good stuff here. Already a very nice build. I don't want to mess this up. All right, so a key takeaway from all of this is the non-crit based Descendants are at this point a little better to invest the mutant cells into. Crit ones, you can make them work if you sacrifice a little bit of cooldown. I don't see the logic of dropping crit damage to get a little more of a perk from the mutant cells. So if you can sacrifice a little bit of cooldown, you can make it work. For me, sacrificing the cooldown on Blair did not work because I need the cooldown to be low on his fourth so that I can fight the Ice Maiden. With Ines, it can work out. I will try and make the builds for Ines and stuff. I don't think I'll make one for Blair. For Viessa, again, same thing. If you use guns, if you play public only, then that cooldown increase is not going to harm you that much. Luna can benefit. Keelan will benefit greatly. Doesn't work on people like Galay. Serena, I don't think there is a need for it. And there are a few descendants I did not talk about, they can also benefit. But yeah, generally, yeah, this is the idea behind this video is to just give you a heads up on which ones to invest your very precious and rare mutant cells that you may or may not be getting from the drops. And once I have a few more, I'll try and flesh out and make a few videos, 4 or 5 descendants that I've mentioned that are good with this. And so that should help out until we get more mutant cells or more nodes in the arcade tuning. So hopefully this was useful. Thank you for watching. I know this wasn't really a guide type, but more of a discussion. But yeah, I'll try and make one. I have two, so I'll probably invest in Ines or Keelan or something.